going to do a little video here about dinosaurs in recorded history. Here we have the Stegosaurus. There's an old book called the Irish Chronicle from 900 AD where it lists a dragon that harassed the countryside that had a head like a horse, plates on its back, or weird shapes on its back, and then were backward facing spikes on its tail. Well, that's a stegosaur. Now, the word dinosaur did not come about until the 1840s, and it didn't make it into the dictionaries until the 1890s. Before that, they were all called dragons. Now here we have the famous Triceratops. You'll note sometimes in the end, oh, there he goes, he's making noise. There was a city in France that renamed itself after the local people killed a dragon that had 3 large horns on its head. And you can look that up. It was in France, and there he is making all kinds of noise. A little fact here, depending on the museum, they'll either put the legs sprawling out to make it more lizard-like, or more underneath it to make it more bird-like. This one, they made it more bird-like. Here is a juvenile T-Rex. Now the story of Beowulf is about a man that comes over and helps his kingdom that's being harassed by dinosaurs, if you want to look at it that way, and he pulls off one of the front arms of Grendel the monster, and then he fights Grendel's mother, which is a different kind of dinosaur, and eventually the third dinosaur gets it. But if you read it with an open mind, you'll see that he's fighting a dinosaur. Do I believe it was a T-Rex or a Velociraptor? It was probably some kind of theropod. But all throughout history, they were called dinosaurs, dragons, not dinosaurs. Like I said, that word came up later. Here we have the infamous Velociraptor over here. The word gargoyle came from, there was a monster in the Seine River called Gargula, and it was harassing people and killing people along the Seine. This was like the year 700, you can look it up. And then the local bishop got some of the more braver, sturdy luminaries of the community, and they lured it out of the river and they killed it. Well, they cut its head off and they stuck it on the corner of the church as you know, a token of God's delivering them from that. And then years later, they started carving heads of said monsters, dragons, into the sides. And you know, for hundreds of years, the only gargoyle statues were in France. Now they're pretty much everywhere, but that's where the word gargoyle comes from, is gargula. It was a sea serpent brought out of the Seine. And I'm going to do a video about Paris in a couple of months, and I'll try to point out where that church was. If you'll go to my YouTube account, I'll try to have that and that on my website, timbosplace.com. Let's go look at some more of the dinosaurs over here. Now, here's another theropod, and it's got a little juvenile here, pretty cool looking. Anyway, I'm shooting this at the San Antonio Aquarium, which has got pretty cool stuff in it. The book of Daniel, if you have a Catholic Bible, has an extra chapter in it. And in that chapter, Daniel's talking to Nebuchadnezzar, and Nebuchadnezzar says, well, look at this, look at our dragon, it's a god. And Daniel says it's no god. And he says, well, if you can kill it without using spear or sword, do it. So he creates a big mixture of hair, salt, pitch, and fat, and mixes it together and rents it asunder. And it was a sauropod of some kind that he killed. The whole Chinese culture is rift with dragons and dinosaurs. And Marco Polo lists that there was that the emperor was sometimes drawn during special occasions in a cart pulled by dragons. And there was a official dragon raiser back then. Alexander the Great, the writings of his invasion of India, they killed dragons that were slowing down the conquest, but they lived in these caves along the route. Pliny the Elder mentions them. Solon, Herodotus, the father of history, mentions them. The Bible mentions them. Now, sometimes they're metaphorically talking about Satan, but sometimes they're talking about actual dinosaurs slash dragons in Behemoth and Leviathan, specifically in Job. In the 70s in San Antonio, there were 3 teachers that saw what they described as a pterodactyl. There's a good picture as I can get of it right here, and you can it was mentioned in the Light newspaper, and you can look that up. The Light's defunct now, but it's the they were school teachers, and I actually met one of them once. I didn't know it till afterwards, but it was mentioned that she was one of the 3. In Mrs. Whitus's 3rd grade class at Glen Oaks Elementary, I remember us learning about the tuatara. The tuatara is a small lizard that lives in New Zealand, and it was classified as the last of the dinosaurs. So dinosaurs have always been with man. They're probably just in the ocean now. There might be a few in the swamps. The largest swamp in the world is in the Congo. It's about the size of Arkansas, and it's 80% never been explored. And so they've always been with us. And got some things for you to check up. Look up Kent Hovind. He's got some neat videos on creation science evangelism, where he interviews the people that have seen Champ and Ogopogo. Champ is the supposed monster that lives in Lake Champlain, and Ogopogo lives in Lake Okanagan up in Canada. Those are both really large lakes, sometimes hundreds of miles long, and they, there's multiple witnesses of it. I don't think there's anything in Loch Ness anymore, but that used to be connected to the sea. Actually, I think it still is through locks. But anyway, the dinosaurs and dragons have always been with us. Like I said, they called it something different back then. But they're recorded throughout history. The American Indians talk about the Thunderbird and the Piasaw bird. And St. George, the patron saint of England, was called the Dragon Slayer. You can look for them, you can find them. In the old Ishtar Gate, when they dug it up in Babylon, there was it had decorations of several animals. The lion, the oryx, which is an extinct kind of ox. It had regular cattle on it, and it also had dinosaurs on it. There's Roman pottery and Roman swords that have intertwined necks of sauropod-looking dinosaurs on it. So there's plenty of evidence that dinosaurs made it up until recent history. And like I said, they're probably out in the ocean still. It's just after the clipper ship sightings of sea serpents dropped down to virtually nothing because the screws on the ships, after steam and then later oil fired, they make a lot of noise. But you can look up HMS Daedalus. There was a carcass caught by some Japanese sailors back in the 70s that made the newspapers, and they threw it overboard because it was rotting. And I know all about how a carcass of a large shark, specifically a basking shark, decays and it tears off and it looks like a different creature, but this wasn't it. Anyway, thank you for your consideration. Like I said, check out my other dinosaur videos on timbosplace.com. Thank you.